Hey, you guys, welcome to this episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. And today, so excited because one of my great friends and fellow Ramsey personality, Dr. John Delony, is here with me.
What's
John,
up?
welcome
How are
back.
you? Good to see you.
You like this? You like the Rachel Cruze Show?
I love sitting on the couch.
That's it. I know.
couch.
Well, glad you're back.
Thank you.
Thanks. So John is a mental health, wellness, and relationship expert and host of the Dr. John Delony Show and best-selling author. And so today, I want to dive in and talk through kind of 5 big areas of money, and 5 areas that we talk a lot on this show about. But I want to talk about not just how it affects you with your money and your finances specifically, but also your mental health and also your relationships, because money plays and is woven into every part of our lives.
That's right.
And we feel that. And so, I kind of just want to dig in.
Let's jump. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
ready? Debt.
Debt.
Debt. We're going in first. Debt. So, from what I've experienced and talking with people over the years is that there is a truth that when you owe someone money,
Right.
you don't have as many options in life. You don't have as much freedom. So when we talk about becoming debt free, there is a freedom to that yes, your paycheck is freed up to be able to give and invest and spend, and it's your money coming to you that you actually get to keep. But there's also this freedom, emotionally, spiritually, that just kind of releases when you don't owe someone money. So that's kind of like the top layer that we talk about here. But I would love for you to just go a layer or two under that and really dissect it, because debt really can affect you on so many levels.
Yeah, I think that everything you just said is absolutely 100% true.
Yeah.
I think underneath it, there's a machine that's running that's important for us to understand what's happening. And actually, I'm working with a couple of researchers who are running these experiments now. And so I'm going to have some true, hard scientific data to back up what I know to be true. And so here's what's going on in our heads. Our minds are broken up into a couple of distinct pieces. One that is always scanning the environment for threats. Things that your brain knows means you're not safe, right? That you are under threat. Your housing may go away, your relationships may go away, right? Big, important things. And there's another part of our brain that is our frontal lobe that is, and this is so nerdy, I know,
No, I love it,
but it is looking for what's rational thinking, right? Is this a good deal? Is this a good idea for my future self, right?
Yep.
When you go sign for a car note and it's 0% down for 60 months or whatever, your frontal lobe knows, hey, that's a good deal, right? I get to keep my money at home and I'll pay for this later. It's a problem for future John. That feels good. The threat detection part of our brain starts spinning up because it knows you don't get to decide what you do tomorrow. Toyota Motor Company does. Honda decides what you do tomorrow. The bank decides. Bank now has control of your life. And your body knows you're not safe. And as Vander Kolk says, the body keeps the score. So I can convince myself to go ahead and act because this is a quote unquote good deal, or it makes sense right now, or we got to get a bigger car because whatever.
Right, we're having another baby or what? Yeah,
whatever. This lump of human needs a whole other row in the back of the SUV, right? We can convince ourselves of all these things, but our bodies know, we're not safe anymore. Because if you miss one payment, miss the job, you have no more transportation, right?
And I think
it goes
that's
away.
the interesting thing about debt specifically, because mathematically, you can
the
talk
math makes
yourself,
sense.
Yes, you can talk yourself into it. So how often does that switch between the feeling part of your brain and the rational part?
Well, here's what's wild. When the threat detection system sets the alarm, it actually unhooks the thinking part.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's spinning all the time, 24/7. So we talk to people a lot, you and I, who owe 6 figures of debt. They got student loans, they got car notes, they got credit cards, and they'll talk about how they feel like they go to bed at night and they wake up and they're still exhausted.
Yep.
Your body won't let you fully go to sleep because it's waiting to not die, right? Like we talk to couples who are married and they're together, but they're not connected. Your body doesn't have time for sex or intimacy because it's trying to not die, right?
Interesting, yeah.
And then we talk to people who've paid off all their debts and they talk about this, it just feels something's different. That's a body who goes, okay,
because that part
now
can
we
rest.
can relax, right? Now we can actually lean into intimacy. We can lean into, you want to sleep? Let's sleep, right? It's a totally different physiology because your body is not under duress anymore.
Which is so huge because, again, people that advocate for debt and they do all the math and they show you all the formulas and all that, like, they don't put this kind of stuff into account. Like, you can't put a number and a formula and a great interest rate on that part of your brain, right? Like there is something in there. And so I think that's a really important part, you guys, to really focus on, is that getting out of debt, that journey for you while you're sacrificing, and we talk about that a lot on the show, the end result is almost even greater than probably what you could even expect, because there's something that you may not even realize is going on.
That's exactly right.
In your body. So that's amazing. Okay, so that was debt. Let's talk about budgeting.
Okay.
Because budgeting, one reason I love it is I feel like it's like healthy or unhealthy, I can control a level of my life there, right? Like you're like, okay, my money's coming in and I can set a plan. You know, when we get to decide what we want to do this month with that money. Like there's so many things in life that we can't control these days. And I feel like even the last 2-3 years, we've all experienced that on a great level. So for me, yes, I love knowing that, I'm being wise with my money. Like all of that feels good. I'm spending money I have, so I feel permission to spend. That's all the stuff I talk about. But there's this level of control for me that I think deep down it just feels good to be able to say I have power over something.
Oh, can I tell you what I think it really is? It's not that.
Control issues?
No, it's not. I don't know that it's control.
What?
I think control feels good, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to control what we can control. We're going to create a plan. But if you go look at every religious tradition throughout history, part of it is there's always confession, there's always giving, and there's always this other word, and we hate it, but it's submission.
Yeah.
It's taking a knee. It's this idea of here is something I'm giving myself over to. And so when you create a budget, the control part is up front. I'm gonna wrap my arms and the money and what we're gonna spend. And then there's a submission to
the process.
This is what we agreed on. This is who we're gonna be. This is the roadmap towards the family we want to become. And your body again goes, submission, right? And we hate that word. Rachel,
sure.
I hate that word.
Sure.
But there's something.
It's thrown around a lot.
It is. And it's abused. It's super
yeah,
abused.
Yeah.
But there's something about saying, hey, we're going to save up to buy this thing. And that means over the next 7 months, we're going to sacrifice things that we want in the moment for this thing that we want.
Yeah.
Are you in? I'm in. I'm going to submit to this plan. And there's just some peace that comes along with that. Because we know where we're headed.
And then how much of that practice, right, with our money translates into, maybe your marriage and your parenting, this level of I'm going to give myself over. I'm going to submit myself to this specific plan.
Right.
But does that feed into other relational parts of your life too?
Yeah, it's a proxy for the way we live our lives, right?
Yeah.
So we just finished with Christmas, right? And we're into the new year. Let's go back to before Christmas. We decide we're going to visit my family. Visiting my family comes with some high highs and some low lows. It just is, right? Everyone has those things. When I decide I'm going to visit my family, I am submitting to all of it. And so me fighting it and getting worked up and anxious and getting angry, but what a waste of time. I said I'm doing this, and I learned that through doing a budget every month. I could, through the budget process, get so mad and angry every month. Why? I decided.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it because of a future goal. Same with visiting family, same with taking a new job, same with moving to a new town, same with couples coming to some hard disagreements in their marriage. I'm going to submit to the process. I said I'm in. You said you're in. Now let's just figure this thing out.
Let's do it. That's so good. And I love that. Yes. So it starts over where I would see the control feels good because there's so many things out of control. So I can control that. But ultimately what I'm saying is I'm dying to myself in a sense to this plan, and I'm going to trust it and follow it because in turn, it actually is the thing that's going to help me
That's
win.
right. There's control until you put the pin down.
Yep.
And then it's about submission.
Love it. Okay. So that was budgeting. Let's dive into saving.
Okay.
So saving gives a level of security, I think, for a lot of people. So not only do you have the actual tangible means to go and do stuff or have an emergency fund, or you're saving for retirement, out for the future, you're delaying pleasure in the moment to look at the future, right? All of that, it's so good. But man, there's a security piece to that. And for women, the top financial fear is the lack of security when it comes to money. If something happens, am I going to be okay, right? That fear starts to creep in. So I see on a financial side, that security blanket, we talk about the safety net. That's really what it is. But talk about again, your body, your mental health, your relationships. What does it do when you have savings?
It's very similar to owing money, right? When your body knows one wrong thing, one flat tire, one loss of a bonus, right? And now we live in a world where people they budget in their bonuses, right? And when you don't get that bonus, it has a reverse domino on all of your life, right?
Yep.
Your body knows we're not okay, right? If you have an emergency fund and you don't get the bonus, it's annoying. It's something you complain about to your friends, right? Or you're like, oh my gosh. it's not catastrophic, right? And so there's something physiological about the peace. I know I've done what I can, and come what may, right? And I always get that, like, what about if the monetary system collapsed? You know what? I'll deal with that when it happens, right?
Totally.
I don't have a plan for that because, yes, the moon could take off into orbit, right, or whatever. If there really is a moon, right, Rachel?
We don't know. We supposedly landed on it, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But I'm going to control what I can control, and I'm going to have peace.
Yes, that's so great.
So one of the things I always hate thinking about, what if something happens to me? What if something happens to my husband, Winston? What's gonna happen to the family? There is a great solution, you guys, that really takes that part of worrying and stress and the not good feeling, kind of puts it at ease. And that is term life insurance. And Winston and I personally use Xander Insurance. And they're the best. They make the whole process, you guys, so easy. You give them your information and they go and they shop the top-rated companies for the best policy for you and your family's needs. So no one should go without term life insurance. So go check out Xander Insurance. Just go to xander.com to make sure that your family's future is taken care of.
Okay, spending. One of my favorite parts of money.
Oh, me
It's
too.
so fun. So I feel like, yes, we're similar in this way that it's exciting, right? And there's reasons why we spend. There's great fun reasons that you do within, a wise system of not going into debt, and it's in the budget and you have permission to do it and you get to go do it, and great. But there's also the unhealthy side of the spending, which we all experience, right? So whether you're doing it to impress someone else, whether you're doing it kind of for like a power grab that, this is gonna make me feel
Hey, let's
great.
talk through this, because I think you and I have
There's a
very
lot.
similar issues, but they come from different places. Why do you spend? Like, what does spending get you?
I still have this thought, if I just had those earrings, like everything will be okay. Like
Then you'd feel a certain way?
I feel that, I'll be
Okay.
good. I'll be good if I just have that.
Okay.
And I still buy into
yeah,
that. Even
yeah.
though as I'm doing it, I'm like, that's not true.
I was just thinking, God, why'd she wear those earrings for the show?
Why are the terrible?
You should have bought some new ones.
Terrible idea.
And so I spend, I grew up with we didn't have a lot,
Yeah.
right? And especially no name brand stuff. And we always had hand-me-downs. And so for me, spending is this weird way to try to get esteem back. Like, look at the brands I'm wearing, right? Our friend Joshua Field Milburns was talking about how he literally takes the brands off his shirts because I don't want to be advertisement for somebody else. And I thought, I would never do that. And then I asked myself, why?
Yeah.
And I thought, because I derive status from that brand, right? And then I thought, that's shameful, right? So that's why I spend because I keep trying to get affirmation that I'm enough,
Yes,
right?
yeah, totally. So there's all that, right?
There's all these
we
different
could
reasons.
probably list 10 different reasons
That's
on
right.
why people spend, again, not in a healthy sense. So what does it do to us when we believe these lies, that it's gonna give me this level of status that I feel like I want, and that status will fulfill something in me, or if I could just have those earrings, I'll be great. I don't need any more. Just those one pair. Like that kind of floating and living, spending in those ways, that again is so hard, you guys, because I'm like, even if you have the money and even if it's in the budget, there's still some great questions to ask yourself about your motivation. And so when we spend and not a great motivation, what does that do? What does that do to us?
I mean, we could go down a whole nerdy dopamine rabbit hole, which we don't need to do, but I think ultimately it continues to push the finish line for I'm enough or I have worth. And it gets further and further away from you. And once you get down a certain path, it's really hard to change direction. It's hard to, it becomes an addiction, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's addiction in purchasing, addiction and alcohol, addiction and whatever, any number of things, you're chasing this continual feeling, this continual, then it will be, and then it will be.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something about unhooking from the matrix and just saying, I'm not playing that game anymore.
Yes, that's right.
I'm not going to seek, I'm not trying to get happiness. That's
Right.
not the goal, right? The goal is I want to be a present dad. The goal is I want to be a great husband. The goal is I want to be awesome at my job and show up, right? And so I'm going to pursue those things. I'm not going to pursue stuff.
Yep. And that's what's so tricky about all this is I'm like, or what's frustrating, not tricky, that, the truth is, I'm like, yeah, and we can know what is right and wrong, but having the maturity in the moment before the purchase to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to wait. That's why we always talk about the 24-hour rule here, because you allow, whether it is, again, the adrenaline or the dopamine or that feeling of like, I know it's not going to, but in the moment, my feelings, my emotions feel different. Unplugging from that matrix for a day is amazing what it does.
It's all about the gap, right?
Yeah.
Between stimulus and response, right? Yeah. Between that feeling of I need to,
and just wait.
Yes. Right? And I think this is an important marker that I've heard repeatedly since I've started co-hosting the Ramsey show, and I've experienced in my own life. When I think back to the days when I didn't have anything and I was pacing my house, my wife and I had 6 figures of debt, I was pacing my house, I didn't know which bill we were gonna pay or not pay. I remember impulse buying to try to make that hurt go away. Now I'm in a different financial position, and I think you and I were talking about off air. I was on a hunting trip. I have the top of the line. I have the Cadillac gear. And the guy who I showed up is an old friend of mine. He had the Bentley gear. And I got home. I have no need for any more camouflage clothes, people. None. And I had it all in the little shopping cart. Like, oh, I need to get the Bentley. And it wasn't a matter of I couldn't afford it. It was a matter of why would you do this? Because I could afford it. I have a budget line for stupid purchases my wife she literally put for whatever stupid thing John's gonna buy. But I had to ask myself, why am I buying this, right? Because I don't need it. I don't really even want it. Oh, it's a validation thing, right? And so I took a break. I took 24 hours, and I ended up not buying it.
Yeah, and again, it's that stuff, you guys. It's that layer of this that financially, you can have the box and it's perfect. But when you plug a human and when you plug us in, it can kind of change that. Yes, change that formula. So
Can I tell you one quick hack?
Yeah.
I hate hacks, but the 24-hour rule doesn't work well for me. So I've had to put another layer in. Here's my layer
48 hour.
online. Nope, it's not about time. I click out of the window on my computer.
Yes.
Instead of just minimizing it. Because what I would do is I would shop for something online. I would drag it into the shopping cart, on the digital shopping cart.
Yep.
And then I'd wait 24 hours. I wouldn't make it. Right? I'd get up the next morning and I'd been thinking about it. So when I have to actually log back in, get all back in everything, that causes enough of a
Friction
barrier for me to slow me down.
That's so good. I love that. Okay, last but not least, giving. So, there's been studies done, we've talked about it on this show too, what giving does. And we talk about a lot of this selflessness that comes into play, right? When you start to give your money, it's a sacrificial statement that you're doing. And you're saying, okay, I'm going to worry less and think about me less as I'm giving. So that's that selfish, selfless perspective starts to move. And you start to move to being more selfless and how that plays into every area of your life. So what have you seen, though? When people start giving, what does that do? Again, in your body, what does that do relationally? How does it cause change?
Giving is the antidote to anxiety. Plain and simple. It takes your eyes, and really, it's not the cure for depression, but it's the path out, right? Depression, anxiety, all those alarm systems force us to look inside ourselves and begin to live inwardly. And that's healthy to see what's the threat, what's going on.
Sure.
But you can't live like that, right? And it's really easy to live like that, and then you're scrolling and it's telling you how awful everything is, and it's all coming down, and oh my gosh, look what she's wearing, look what he got. It causes the spiral to spin tighter, and you just look further and further into your own belly button.
Yeah.
Giving is a physical act that makes you pull your eyes up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's that simple, right? And I remember when I didn't have a lot, $10 to the Waffle House waiter or waitress is a shapeshifter moment, right? Being able to give a couple $100, right? That becomes a powerful, powerful moment. And so for me in my life now, going back to purchases, I like to balance them out. If I'm going to spend this much money on a guitar, I'm going to give this much money recklessly, right?
That's good.
And it is a way to keep me from, what about me? What about? It just is a much freer, open-handed way to live.
Yes, and brings off, that's the stuff that, honestly, it's the joy we talk about that you can't get from the stuff, right? We're not mad at stuff and all of that, but there is something that releases inside of you and in your spirit and in your soul that is so different when you give. That's so great. Okay, so we've been talking again a lot about mental wellness, relationships, what's going on that's deeper than just money, but our money affects all of that. So, John, I would love to know from you, what are a couple of things people can do today, just overall, to become mentally healthier?
We've said them. Control what you can control, which is your budget. Control what you can control, which is either how much you're spending or how much is coming in the door. And I don't say that to be trite. You can't control what your boss is paying you. Your boss is paying you what your boss is paying you.
Right.
But if you got to go to second or third or fourth job for a particular season, that's the season, right? So there's something empowering about saying, today's the day I act, right? The second thing is not owing anybody any money. Mm-hmm. There's just something so profoundly physiologically powerful about not owing anybody any money. And then the third thing is just give recklessly.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I know we don't, like, you and I were, like, everything's so, like, be intentional. Just give unintentionally. Give like a madhouse, right?
Yeah.
And whatever your line item is for giving, put more in it, especially in the new year. One of the things about tithing, I think we've kind of messed it up a little bit because we've made that like, what's the percentage?
I know, yeah.
Instead of a way of being.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So start thinking less in percentages and more in identity. This is who I am.
This is who I am. I'm a giver. Yep. I love that. That's so great. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this because, again, our money, yes, affects the numbers in our life. It affects our investments and our bank account, all that, absolutely. But there's deeper things going on. And when you can kind of get control over that or see the bigger picture, I think it allows for more motivation. Those of you that are getting out of debt or you're funding your emergency fund and there's been a season of sacrifice for you, like, I hope this is just encouragement that what you're doing, you're going down a path that not only financially is going to help you and free you, but also in so many other areas of your life, like your mental health and your relationship. So, John, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
coming on. Where can everyone find you?
Just at RamseySolutions.com or at John Delony. On the internets.
On the internets, everywhere. And the Dr. John Delony Show.
Yes.
For podcasts are. So make sure to check that out because it's so, so great. All right, you guys. Well, again, I hope this gave you some encouragement and motivation for whatever season you are in. So remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.